Gandhi Study Circle convener Dr. Satish Kumar Jha, teacher in charge Political Science Department, and also the co-convener for this seminar, Dr. Rajendra Dayal, to please come and start the program by lighting the lamps, and simultaneously we will also be having the Gandhi Bhajan. Lighting the lamps. Sir, light and the bhajan by the students of Music Society, Aryabhat College. Thank you. I'm sure that was a very soothing start to the program. With that, I would like to give a brief introduction for the guests today. Our chief guest is Mr. Mukesh Pardeshi. He is an IFS, a secretary, CPV and OIA in the Ministry of External Affairs. He was formerly the ambassador of New Zealand and a chief passport officer as well. He is responsible for India's relation with countries in the Gulf and WANA regions. He also leads the operations and organizations of India's G20 presidency. From July 2019 to July 2022, he was High Commissioner of India to New Zealand. He was also concurrently accredited as High Commissioner to Samoa, Vanuatu, and Coal Islands. He served as Ambassador of India to Mexico since 2016 to 2019. He has served as an IFS for 3 decades now, and his services have been in various countries around the globe. I welcome you, sir. On that note, I would request our principal, Professor Manoj Sinha, to please felicitate the guest with planter. Today, we'll also be joined by our chairman in an online mode. Through Zoom conference, our chairman would be joining us, Professor Vasuben Narendrabhai Trivedi. She joined us in year 2023, and she has been a member of Gujarat Legislative Assembly since 2002 to 17. She was also the chairperson Finance Committee in the government of Gujarat. In academia, she has held posts like Dean for Home Science Faculty in Saurashtra University. As a student as well, she was a very, very active member of Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad. And she has held posts like Dean, Chairmanship, etc. in various organizations under the government of Gujarat since 2002 to 2017. We welcome you today, ma'am. We have one more guest, the keynote speaker for the day, who will be joining us through online medium is Professor Douglas Allen, Department of Philosophy, University of Maine, USA. He'll be speaking on topic of Mahatma Gandhi and his many critiques, the need for the new challenging creative interpretations and applications today. On that note, I would now request the introduction of theme to the House by the convener Gandhi Study Circle, Dr. Satish Kumar Jha. Sir. We had one more performance by the students, but that was lined up after the introduction of the theme. However, Satish requests me that the students should perform first, and then we'll take on with the more serious discussion on the topic. Thank you. This was a presentation by the students of Music Society, and they were mentored by Dr. Ankit Prakash and Dr. Sushmita Jha. This was Namit and team.
Online YouTube and Facebook.
So please don't mind the echo. I think we'll have to bear with that for today. So on that note, I would request Dr. Satish Kumar Jha to please introduce the theme to the audiences today.
Thank you, Namita. Good evening, namaskar, and good morning, Professor Douglas Allen, who is connecting from United States University of Men. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome all of you on behalf of Gandhi Study Circle, Arjot College. In fact, before I come to this issue, that why we decided to have this seminar on this theme, that is Gandhi and his critiques, a contemporary discourse, I have a long list of people and institutions to thank. I think that our principal, Professor Sinha, will take care of that. But just to, round up the entire thing, I would like to mention that I'm delighted to have Mr. Muktesh Pardesi as the chief guest this evening. Mr. Pardesi is Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs, Governor of India. And recently he has overseen the successful conclusion of G20. So I'm really thankful to you, Mr. Pardesi. I'm also thankful to Professor Douglas Allen, who is connecting online from United States of America. Professor Douglas has been very supportive from very beginning, particularly from the stage when we conceived this idea of having this seminar. So thank you, Professor Dog, for being so cooperative and supportive. I'm also thankful to our chairman, governing body, Arjot College, Madam Chairperson Bashuben Trivedi, who is connecting from Rajkot, the land of Gandhi. So thank you, Madam, for being with us this evening. Then, of course, I'm delighted to see many people sitting in this audience. Professor Gopal Guru, Lajbanti Chattani, Professor Suman Agrawal, Dr. S.C. Sharma, Swami Shyamanand, Conrad Els, Gangai Mukherjee, and my friends from bureaucracy, Mohan Shingania and Ajay Kumar. Thank you, all of you, for being with us this evening. Now, in fact, this idea to have this seminar was conceived 4 years ago by some of us who are associated with Gandhi Study Circle. That is around 2018-19. But then the pandemic intervened and disrupted the academic and intellectual life across the campuses. At that time, we basically decided to have this, debate, these deliberations on this theme, that is Gandhi and his critiques, primarily with the purpose that there is a need to have a more informed and nuanced understanding of Gandhi's engagement with his contemporaries. There is no dearth of writings, on either Gandhi or his contemporary nationalist thinker. But what we have observed that there is, what is lacking is a more informed understanding of their engagement. It is often seen, it is often presented as if they were the feuding sides in the battleground, but the fact of the matter is otherwise. They were basically engaged with the larger issue of Indian nationalism, but at the same time, they are also reflecting and raising issues which had tremendous implications, civilizational implications, be it the question of modernity, development, science, progress, knowledge, question of identity, and so on and so forth. So therefore, we realized that there's a need to have such, deliberation. We approached, some funding agencies, and we are really thankful to Indian Council of Philosophical Research, particularly its member secretary, Professor Sachidanand Mishra, and his team for being very supportive. They not only endorsed the proposal, but they came forward to support us financially to have this conference today. So thank you, ICPR and its member secretary and his entire team. Now, this entire idea of having this conference is to have a more nuanced understanding of their engagement. Gandhi engaged with all his contemporaries, be it Tagore, Jinnah, Savarkar, Ambedkar, Nehru, Subhas Bose, Bhagat Singh, and I can go on, mention any number of his contemporaries. But that engagement was a very creative engagement. It was meant to arrive at truth, as Gandhi always aspired to. That was his quest. And if we look at the truth as a dialectical discourse of disagreement, then I think that the engagement Gandhi had with his contemporaries was in the true spirit of that understanding of truth. They disagreed. They differed on all important issues. But still, there was a kind of very respectful and civilized debate among them. So much so that I'm reminded of B.R. Ambedkar. Many people wrote obituaries of Gandhi after his death, but his obituary perhaps is worth mentioning here. Writing for the Bombay Chronicle, B.R. Ambedkar wrote that we differed throughout our life on all important issues. But still, there was a person who was always ready to debate with me. With his death, that tradition is vanishing. So I mean, that kind of relationship they had. But unfortunately, in academia, what we find that this entire debate is presented as if they were the feuding sides in the battleground. So therefore, there is a need to have a more, intellectually inspired and influenced and, nuanced debate of their relationship. For example, Tagore. Gandhi and Tagore, the debate can be considered one of the finest debates on modernity and development. But they had fundamental disagreements on many issues, be it the Charkha, non-cooperation movement, and so on and so forth. But still, it is Tagore who anointed Gandhi as Mahatma. Similarly, in fact, Subhash Chandra Bose, we have seen that the face-off between Subhash Chandra Bose and Gandhi in 1939. But still, it is Subhash Chandra Bose who, anointed him as the father of the nation. So that was the kind of relationship they had. But one thing is to be remembered here, that the debate which raged at that time between Gandhi and his contemporaries didn't end with India getting independence. That is still influencing the contemporary intellectual political discourse today, not only in India, world over. Therefore, it is important to have a more wide-ranging understanding of Gandhi's engagement, not only with his contemporaries, but even with the contemporary academia and the contemporary academic discourses. For example, Gandhi has been subjected to very rigorous scrutiny by the feminists, particularly vis-a-vis his relationship with his wife Kasturba and particularly his grand niece Manu. Now we have also a writing called Manu Gandhi's diary. So therefore, that is also an important issue. Similarly, the left ideologues were always opposed to Gandhi's political actions. But of late, we have discovered that how the left has realized that without engaging with the tradition and the legacy of Gandhi, perhaps the entire engagement with Indian society and politics will remain incomplete. In fact, in this 2.5 days deliberations, we have tried to cover as many themes as possible. We have practically session devoted to all his contemporaries as well as all the themes which are basically being debated today in academia. So much so that we have also a session devoted to his son Harilal, because it is to be remembered that the relationship between Gandhi and Harilal was not a relationship of a rebellious son towards father, but it had a lot of philosophical insights and philosophical underpinnings. So therefore, we have a paper, or we have a session devoted to Harilal. We also have a session on new social movements, because many of you would know that new social movements are heavily inspired by Gandhian politics and Gandhian philosophy. But still, there are points of divergences and convergences. So you have scholars reflecting and debating this issue, that how new social movements can be associated with the legacy of Gandhi. So in brief, I can tell you that hopefully in the next 2.5 days, particularly 2 days, today is just inaugural with Professor Douglas Allen's keynote address, but the next 2 days, the discussions and the deliberations, which are basically organized over several sessions, will definitely generate a very informed understanding of Gandhi's relationship with his contemporaries. And I hope that it will go a long way in inspiring, generations of scholars and academicians to take up this issue in a much more informed fashion than what is being done today. So because of paucity of time, this concept note is in circulation. Many of you must have gone through the concept note. In fact, I don't have much to add here, because our sessions are packed with the galaxy of scholars who have worked not only on Gandhi, but his contemporaries. I can see many of them. Professor Gopal Guru is considered authority on Indian political theory and Ambedkar's thought. So thank you. He has come all the way from Pune to be part of these proceedings. So is Lajvanti Chattani, Gangai Mukherjee, Swami Shyamanand, and I'm particularly thankful to Konrad Els, who has come all the way from Belgium to be part of this proceeding. Thank you, Konrad. In fact, when we approached him, he was not only very supportive, but immediately accepted our invitation and decided to be part of this deliberations. Thank you, Professor Konrad. So with these words, I stop here and over to you, Namita.
Thank you, sir. I would now request our Internal Quality Assurance Committee convener, Professor J.K. Singh, to please address the House and welcome the guests.
Good evening, participants and all the members present in the House. On behalf of IQAC, I welcome our chief guest today, Shri Muktesh Pardeshi ji, IFS Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs. Our keynote address would be connecting through online mode Professor Douglas Allen, Department of Philosophy, University of Maine, USA. Our Honorable Chairperson of the College, Professor Vasuben Trivedi, and our Principal, Professor Manoj Sinha ji, and my colleagues from Department of Political Science, Dr. Satish Jha ji and Dr. Rajinder Dayal ji. I will draw most of the inputs in my address from what has been said till now. And as Dr. Jha was mentioning, that this idea was conceived 4 years back, and it is a culmination of the efforts of lot of faculty members, students over these last 4 years, which is going to happen now. So obviously we have got very high expectations, and IQAC of our college always looks for such opportunities where we get a chance to collaborate with external agencies. And we are fortunate that Gandhi Study Circle, along with Department of Political Science, has collaborated with Indian Council of Philosophical Research to conduct this program at such a large scale. I learned that around 40 to 50 papers would be presented over next 2 days. And hopefully, when we'll be meeting here for valedictory session, I would see sense of satisfaction on the face of the participants, on all those experts who will be joining us to make this program more valuable and worthy. I, on behalf of IQAC, express my sincere gratitude to all the experts of political science, the participants, paper presenters who have expressed their inquisitiveness to get associated with the event, and they'll be getting connected with us over next 2 days. Gandhi ji, as it was said right in the beginning, he was relevant, he is relevant, and he'll remain relevant. And though I am not directly from the field of political science, but since my childhood, I had number of opportunities where I learned about Mahatma Gandhi ji. And it was very rightly said by our faculty member, Dr. Namita, that he was relevant, he is relevant, and will remain relevant. And in such a scenario, I think the theme of the seminar, Gandhiji and his critics, contemporary discourse, is very valid in today's environment, in the present context, when it is seen in the light of the future generation who is striving for sustainable future. All the companies, all the institutions, they are guiding about the sustainability, that how to conserve the resources. And it is Gandhiji who advocated number of times that the resources should be consumed as per the needs of the individual. It is Mother Planet who gave us enough to satisfy our needs, but one cannot satisfy his greeds. And I also recall one of the literature of Gandhiji, which he called as Nai Talim in 1937, which he advocated the concept of basic education. And according to Gandhiji, education has two main aims. One is the immediate aim and another is the ultimate aim. The immediate aim is to provide enough education to the individual so that he can have his economic independence. He can earn, he can live, he can get along with the society. But the ultimate aim is the self-realization, which one can achieve through invoking his divinity, through invoking his spiritual powers, and how this spiritual leadership is attained by helping another human being. Service to the mankind is considered as service to the God, according to Gandhiji, because he goes with the presumption that every human being has got divine spark in itself, in himself, in herself. And when he helps the other, it helps in nurturing his divinity. And finally, he is able to connect with the God directly. So there are a lot of lessons, and I can recall a number of occasions where Gandhiji references have been made, because whatever field you pick up, you'll find his reference, mentions, ideas. Everywhere. You talk about the management. Harvard School of Business Management has called Gandhiji as the management guru of the 20th century, because they considered him as to be the master strategist. he was able to identify himself with the masses, empathize with them, get connected with them, and made use of Satyagraha to get his plan accomplished. He was able to assess the power of the opponent, that the Britishers, they are under restriction not to make use of the unlawful means to punish anybody. So he knew that by adopting the route of truth and non-violence, he'll be able to have his goal achieved. Then leadership, one of the important aspects of the management, and Gandhiji excelled in it. One knows that what kind of leader he was. On his one appeal, people burnt the foreign clothes. They started making salt in defiance of law. Who can forget about the Dandi March and movements like boycott movement and civil disobedience movement, all these movements, number of movements which have been carried by Gandhiji and had far-reaching impact on the personality of human beings. So Gandhiji is someone who will be remembered with us, and he'll remain there forever. Whenever we'll have any problem in the decision making, the best way out is to adopt the Gandhian approach. Just make sure that is it approaching to the right beneficiary and is it approaching to the last man on the road. Your decision would be appropriate. So before I conclude, I would like to mention the important lines written by Gandhiji, that live your life as if you were to die tomorrow and learn as if you have to live forever. So with these words, I presume that I am sure the international seminar organized by our Gandhi Study Circle would be a great success and would leave unfading. It will remain unfading in the history of this college forever. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. A seminar of this stature, a seminar where we covering wide range of topics, holding it for 2.5 days would not have been possible without the guidance and leadership of our principal, Professor Manoj Sinha. So I would now request him to please come and invite him to address the house and welcome the guests.
Thank you, Namita. Good evening, everyone. And good morning to Professor Douglas Allen, if he's joined us. The chief guest for this evening, Muktesh Pardeshi ji, and all the dignitaries who have joined us this evening. My dear friend and colleague, Dr. Satish Jha, Dr. Rajendra Dayal, and my dear students. It's a pleasure to welcome you this evening on 2nd of October to Aryabhat College. I have never seen so many people together on 2nd October on this campus. Just to introduce Aryabhat College to you, because as it's my duty as the head of the institution to welcome each one of you to this campus. It's the newest addition to Delhi University. It's the latest college that has joined Delhi University, bouquet of colleges that you see all over town, touching even the NCRs at various places. And in 9 years, you see what you see today. I mean, this is what the teachers, the faculty members, the students, and everyone has made out of this campus. And we are here as an A+ college of accredited by the NAC of UGC. And of the many reasons, and since this evening it's not the context to elaborate upon it, but one of the reasons has been that we have done fairly well academically. And when I say that we have done well academically, I tend to remember someone who has been with us before, Professor Gopal Guru, when he was here to promote four of us as readers at that time. Now they are called associate professors. Thank you, sir, that you remember. Dr. S.C. Sharma, the then principal, is also sitting among us. And as he interviewed first Dr. Rajendra Dayal and then Dr. Tripurari Sharan, who is sitting in the audience today, and Satish and myself, he said, this is one of the best departments of political science in the campus, and I would like to send my son. I would like to send my son to be to do his BA Honors Political Science from this college. Then we were called Ramlal Anand Evening College at that time. We dissuaded him, saying that we are an evening college. It will not look good on your son's CV. So let it be. We'll guide him, we'll teach him, but let him study at one of the campus colleges. Then he used to be the head of Department Political Science, Delhi University. From there, sir, we have grown. We have made our identity. In 2014, the Aryabhat College was created. And within 3 or 4 months of its creation, I was asked to take over as the principal of the college. And since then, this lot that you see, the teachers, number of teachers have grown, the departments have increased. We have added a lot of very good departments: psychology honors, computer science honors, management studies, the head of which you have just heard. From his vantage point, the management head was talking about Gandhi as a management expert of sorts, which is new for a person from political science area, as you would realize. But that is how it is. And this college has grown academically. It's made its mark. And this 2.5 days of deliberation that we are going to have on Gandhi and his contemporaries, or Gandhi and his critics, I'm told. And I'm one of the persons who has worked on Gandhi at certain time, though now the Department of Political Science does not consider me to be a scholar. Ever since I became an administrator, they have thrown me out of kind of. So today, even today, I have managed to get the mic only because I'm the principal, not as a scholar. But Gandhi is one area where Satish ji gives me some leverage of at least talking to me on that. And so I've been a part of development of this idea. Because at one time when I used to be a scholar, with all due apologies, Satish ji, but I used to be once, and I have written a book also on modernization and ecology, Gandhian perspective. So, and later on, my department, Vidyut and Neera Chandok and everybody asked me to develop a reading for, reading Gandhi, the paper that you had introduced at that time. So Hindi version is edited by me over there. So worked for some time on Gandhi. So I was able to talk to Satish and, in the development of this thought process, which was being planned. And I'm proud that he has put together a plan, though very packed. I really am not very convinced of so many scholars giving us so much over these next 2.5 days. But it is to be seen how we will be able to absorb. I hope my students, my faculty members will keep up with all the packing that Satish ji has done with so much labor, so much effort. And the whole Gandhi Study Circle that we have, along with Department of Political Science, the IQAC, everyone, the efforts you have put in are showing already. Those who have already arrived, I welcome them wholeheartedly. With us today is chairperson of the college, Professor Vasuben Narendra Bhai Trivedi ji, who has joined us only this year, but has been a massive support system for all of us. She was member of the Legislative Assembly of Gujarat from 2002 to 2017. She was the Minister of State, Higher and Technical Education, Women and Child Development from 2012 to 16. Has worked under both Narendra Modi ji and Anandiben Patel in their ministries, and also chairperson of University Granth Nirman Board. Her association with education system is long and detailed. She holds an MA LLB degree and has held position as Dean Home Science Faculty, Saurashtra University, and has been a member of Academic Council also of Saurashtra University. Thank you, madam, for joining us today. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपका. The chief guest today is kind of a friend also, so it's very difficult to introduce him too formally, but we do welcome you, Muktesh, wholeheartedly to this campus. Thank you for being with us this evening. And as Satish ji introduced, that he has been Ambassador of India to Mexico, High Commissioner to New Zealand, and Chief Passport Officer also. His career as ambassador and other important positions in foreign land has been of 3 decades, and he has served countries like Jakarta, Geneva, Mexico, Bogota, and Kathmandu at various times. Currently, he stays as the Secretary Foreign Affairs, one of the secretaries in Foreign Affairs. We also have as keynote speaker today, Professor Douglas Allen, Department of Philosophy, University of Maine. He has served as Professor of Philosophy at the University of Maine, USA for 46 years and became Professor Emeritus of Philosophy in September 2020. He served as Chairperson of the Department of Philosophy in various years during this time. He also served as President of the International Society for Asian and Comparative Philosophy and is the editor of the Lexington Book Series of Studies in Comparative Philosophy and Religion. Thank you, Professor Douglas Allen, for joining us. Thank you so much, sir. This is the principal of the college, Manoj Sinha, sir. Well, this is the Facebook coming back to us, so pardon me. We also have today Dr. Gandhi Mukherjee. Excuse me. Mute everyone because we are live on YouTube, on Facebook, and everyone. So it's impossible for us to do that. You know, there are more people watching you online than we are here. Okay. So Professor Gandhi Mukherjee, Conrad Els, Gopal Guruji, Lajwanti Chatani ji, and I don't know how to call him Swami Shyamanand, but he's been a dear friend and a class fellow of yours. First time I'm meeting him as Swami. My congratulations to you for transgressing what we have not, the worldliness of this earth. And you know, he's been a class fellow and known as Satya to many of us, but now, of course, he's risen. Welcome to Aryabhat College, and thank you for all for being here. Thank you, Dr. S.C. Sharma, for joining us today. You've been a guiding light for so many years that I can't mention. And also the bureaucrat friends, as Satish ji called you, Mohanji and Ajayji, thank you for being here. Of course, I congratulate the organizing committee of Satish Shah, Rajendra Dayalji, J.K. Singh, and also the ICPR. ICPR has been is the Kuber that is funding the 2.5 days of this gathering that we are going to have. And particularly the Secretary Sachidanand Mishra ji has been very, very helpful and cooperative to us. I do hope that over these next 2 days, we'll have great debates. And as Satish said, mentioned that dialectics is the way to develop further, and making 2 corrections. One was a slip of tongue that my friend Singh Saab made. You know, he remembered the emergency instead of 1917. So correct that in your records that it was 1917 that Gandhiji said what he said. And the second debate I want to pick up with the MC for today, Namita, who's been saying that Gandhi is as relevant today as he was or has been ever. My debate that I pick up is that Gandhi is more relevant today than he ever was. And I leave it at that. Thank you very much for being with me. Good.
Thank you so much, sir, for your address. हमारे साथ बहुत देर से शुरुआत से जुड़ी हुई हैं हमारी चेयरपर्सन प्रोफेसर वासुबेन त्रिवेदी. मैम, आप हमसे जुड़ी जरूर इसी साल हैं, पर आपका नेतृत्व हमारे लिए महत्वपूर्ण रहा है और मैं आपसे आग्रह करूंगी कि आप सभा को संबोधित करें। आप हमसे जुड़ी जरूर इसी साल हैं।
और गांधी स्टडी सर्कल के परिवार के सभी सदस्य उपस्थित हैं। मैं हृदयपूर्वक आपका स्वागत करती हूँ। अभी मुकेश जी के बारे में, डॉक्टर झा के बारे में, डॉक्टर सिंह के बारे में और आप सबका परिचय में हमारे प्रिंसिपल साहब मनोज सिन्हा जी बता रहे थे, मैं सुन रही थी। मुझे बताना चाहिए आज मुकेश जी उपस्थित है, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया से है, तो बताना चाहिए कि आर्यभट्ट कॉलेज के हमारे जो प्रिंसिपल है मनोज सिन्हा एक भी विषय को छोड़ते नहीं जिनमें बच्चों का विकास हो। भविष्य के बच्चों का निर्माण के लिए कुछ न कुछ करना पड़ता है, तो करने के लिए मानसिकता है, इसलिए मुझे भी काम करने का मजा आता है इनके साथ। आज सुबह से गांधी जयंती का दिन हम सब मनाने जा रहे हैं। कल सफाई का अभियान था, हमारे आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने दिया था कि पूरे देश में सफाई क्यों न हो, खुद भी सफाई करते हैं। आज सुबह में गांधी जी के स्टैच्यू के पास जाके कुछ संकल्प भी किए, खादी की खरीदी भी की, सभी लोगों को प्रेरणा और उत्साह भी करवाया खादी खरीदने के लिए। मैं सोचती हूँ कि हम सब लोग गांधी जयंती के दिन इकट्ठे होते हैं, विचार की बात भी करते हैं, बात करके फिर दूसरे दिन से गांधी विचार के जो स्टडी सर्कल जैसे हमारे विद्वान है वो काम करते रहते हैं, लेकिन हम सब एकेडमिशियन है, हमें समाज के बारे में सोचना चाहिए क्योंकि हम भारतवर्ष के प्राध्यापक हैं, एकेडमिशियन है और समाज के बारे में हमें सोचना चाहिए। तो इस विचार यात्रा को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए हमें भी कुछ संकल्पबद्ध करके, मोदी जी का सपना है नई पीढ़ी का भारत के, मोदी जी का सपना है नए भारत का निर्माण करने का, और नए भारत के निर्माण के लिए हमें भी कुछ न कुछ करने की आवश्यकता जरूर है, ऐसा मैं मानती हूँ। गांधी जी थॉट बहुत बड़ा गहन विषय है, हम 4-5 मिनट में बता नहीं सकते हैं, लेकिन ऐसा अवसर होता है ना कुछ बताते हैं तो अच्छा लगता है। आज मैं सच में बहुत खुश हूँ इसीलिए कि हमारी कॉलेज का गांधी स्टडी सर्कल 4 साल से प्रयत्न कर रहे थे और उनका सपना भी पूरा हुआ है। मैं उनको भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करती हूँ और इस विचार को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए जो कुछ करना पड़े वो करना चाहिए, ऐसे संकल्प के लिए प्रभु इनको भी शक्ति दे, ऐसी प्रार्थना भी करती हूँ। मित्रों, आज स्वतंत्रता की लड़ाई से लेके आज तक गांधी जी के बारे में विश्व ने भी बहुत सुना है, विश्व ने हमें कुछ देने का बहुत प्रयत्न किया। भारतवर्ष विश्व गुरु है, हम इनके नागरिक होने के नाते इसीलिए खुश है कि पूरे विश्व में आज गांधी जी के बारे में कोई न कोई तो बात करते हुए हमको मिलता है। आज एलन जी हमारे बीच में स्पीकर हैं, कीनोट स्पीकर है। कितना अच्छा लगता है कि विदेश के लोगों गांधी जी के बारे में हमको बताए और उसके विचार के बारे में इनकी सोच भी हमारे सामने रखे, तो अच्छा लगता है। आज मुझे भी आप सबको सुनना है, ज्यादा नहीं बताऊंगी, लेकिन ये जरूर कहूंगी कि गांधी जी के प्रिय एक भजन था जो अभी बच्चों ने गाया स्टेज पे, वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए। मुझे लगता है कि भारतवर्ष के नागरिक कैसे होने चाहिए, हमारा समाज कैसा होना चाहिए, वो इस भजन में पूरा का पूरा आ जाता है। एक नागरिक कैसा होना चाहिए, हम शिक्षक हैं तो शिक्षक कैसे होना चाहिए, जो जिम्मेदार लोग हैं वो कैसे होने चाहिए और सभी लोग कैसे होने चाहिए, वो सब उसमें बताया गया है। दूसरे को पीड़ा नहीं देनी है, किसी को दुख नहीं पहुंचाना है, सत्य का पालन करना है, करुणा के बारे में सोचना है, अहिंसा नहीं करनी है। भारतीय संस्कृति की धरोहर पर नजर रखते हुए अपना जीवन कैसे बिताना है, व्यतीत करना है, वो सब हमको वहीं से सीखना मिलता है। मुझे लगता है कि गांधी जी का जीवन सिर्फ मनुष्य ही नहीं किंतु विश्व के लिए एक विचार है और विचार के साथ एक संदेश भी है। गांधी जी ने सत्य, अहिंसा, सादगी अपने जीवन में इसी तरह अपनाया। जीवन उनका संदेश बन गया, उसका जीवन ही उसका संदेश है, ऐसा सब मानने लगे। मित्रों, हम सब जानते हैं कि अल्बर्ट आइंस्टाइन ने कहा था कि नई पीढ़ी ये मानेगी नहीं कि गांधी जी जैसा देहधारी मनुष्य कोई पृथ्वी पर होगा। मनुष्य के रूप में ऐसा कोई मानवी पृथ्वी पर नहीं है, ऐसी नहीं होता था, ऐसा नई पीढ़ी मानती थी। हम समझते हैं कि आज नई पीढ़ी और गांधी जी के बीच ऐसा लगता है कि बहुत बड़ी दूरी हो रही है। आज का युवक अहिंसा, सत्य, अपरिग्रह, सत्याग्रह, सादगी, इस सब बातों से, सब विचारों से बहुत दूर है। ना तो ये शब्दों का अर्थ समझते हैं, ना तो इस थॉट का पालन करने की इच्छा रखते हैं, और ना तो ऐसा जीवन जीने की क्षमता भी रखते हैं। आज का युवान की क्या बात करें, पूरे समाज के लिए भी ऐसी हालत है। समाज इस विचार से बहुत दूर चला गया है। ऐसा लगता है कि ये जो शब्द है उसमें विपरीत जीवन पद्धति, हमारी लाइफस्टाइल अलग हो गई है। सत्य को ढूंढना पड़ता है। सत्यवादी लोग हैं, उसको बहुत बार तकलीफ आती है और भुगतनी भी पड़ती है। ऐसा लगता है कि असत्य का आचरण करने वाला लोग आज आदरणीय और वंदनीय बन गए हैं। अहिंसा की जगह हिंसा ने ली है। सत्याग्रह की जगह आंदोलन चलते हैं, हिंसात्मक आंदोलन चलते हैं। अपरिग्रह की जगह ऐशो आराम और जरूरत से बहुत बहुत ज्यादा साधन इकट्ठा करने में हम सब पड़े हैं। सादगी जैसी बात हमारे जीवन में सुनने को भी नहीं मिलती है और दिखती भी नहीं है। ये सब होते हुए भी गांधी विचार सनातन है और हमेशा विश्व को मार्गदर्शन करने वाला गांधी विचार रहा है और रहने वाला भी है। मित्रों, मोदी जी ने हमें एक सूत्र दिया था। जब वो हमारे गुजरात के मुख्यमंत्री रहे तब हम सबको एक दिन बोला गया कि आप सबको खादी खरीदना है। हम खादी के शॉपिंग करने के लिए गए। उन्होंने बोला कि खादी फॉर द फैशन, खादी फॉर द नेशन। कई लोगों की समझ में बात नहीं आ रही थी, लेकिन उसका डिटेल में हम गए तो पता चला कि खादी फॉर द नेशन सच में है, आज साकार हो रहा है। अपने युवान लोग खादी पहनने के लिए हौसला होके वो खादी खरीदते हैं, पहनते भी है, दूसरे लोगों को खरीदने के लिए कुछ ना कुछ बताते भी रहते हैं। भारत में स्वच्छता का संदेश सबको देने का काम भी हमारे यहाँ मोदी जी ने किया है। भारत के छोटे छोटे बच्चे भी साफ करना है, सफाई करनी है, दफ्तर साफ करना है, उसका रूम ठीक करना है, वो सोच हमारे पास गांधी विचार से ही आई है। तो इसी सोच को भी आगे लेके हमें जाना है। हम शिक्षक है, इस विचार को नई पीढ़ी तक पहुंचाने का है, आदर्श पीढ़ी का निर्माण करना है। मुझे लगता है कि हमारा कर्तव्य है। हमारे व्यवहार से पता चलना चाहिए कि अगली पीढ़ी को हमें क्या देना है, हमारे में से कुछ सीखे, ऐसा व्यवहार हमें करना खूब आवश्यकता है। गांधी जयंती के दिन आओ हम सब मिलकर कुछ संकल्प करें, कोई ऐसी प्रतिज्ञा करे कि अपने जीवन में स्वच्छता, सेवा, साधना, करुणा का पालन करने के लिए हम भी अपना मन बनाए। आगे कुछ नहीं बताते हुए मैं आप सभी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करती हूँ और अभिनंदन भी देती हूँ। और अगली बार जब मैं दिल्ली आऊंगी, हमारे कॉलेज में आऊंगी, तो हमारे गांधी स्टडी सर्कल के लोगों से भी मिलूंगी और इसी विचार को कैसे आगे ले जाना है और इसके लिए क्या करना है वो सब सोच के आगे बढ़ाएंगे। मैं फिर से हमारे प्रिंसिपल को और हमारे पूरे परिवार को बहुत आभार व्यक्त करती हूँ कि इसी अवसर पे मुझे आप सबको मिलने का मौका कर दिया। आप सबके बीच में आई क्योंकि मेरा पूरा परिवार गांधीयन है। मैं गांधीयन परिवार से बड़ी हुई हूँ, पढ़ी भी हूँ। विचार को पूरे मन में हमारे पूरे परिवार के लोग आज गांधी विचार से जुड़े हुए हैं, इसलिए मैं हमारा सद्भाग्य समझती हूँ। और आप सब विचार के लोग बैठे हैं, आपके बीच में हूँ, तो स्वाभाविक है मैं बहुत खुशी अनुभव करती हूँ। धन्यवाद। थैंक यू।
We apologize for this technical problem, but this is taking place because we are also online on Facebook and YouTube. And there are some who are keeping their mics on. We don't know who. We are just trying to fix it before Douglas starts to speak so that you're not inconvenienced.
आपका बहुत बहुत आभार मैम, आपके कीमती वक्त के लिए और आपके बेहद खूबसूरत एड्रेस के लिए। कुछ तकनीकी दिक्कतों की वजह से मैं आग्रह करूंगी कि जितने भी लोग सभा में उपस्थित हैं वो कृपया अगर वो लॉग्ड इन हैं तो लॉग आउट कर लें। I would request everybody present in the house to please log out of their YouTube logins if they are present on the online session. Either mute yourself or log out. On that, also, please use headphones. Maybe that will resolve the issue here. Moving on with the program, I would now request our chief guest, Shri Muktesh Pardeshi ji, to please address the house.
Namaskar and very good evening. Professor Manoj Sinha, Principal Aryabhat College. Dr. Satish Jha, Convener of Gandhi Study Circle. All dignitaries on the dais, friends, faculty members, and students. As we are gathered here for the inaugural part of a very exciting international seminar, going by the program booklet, I can vouch that this is going to be a very comprehensive and wholesome discussions on Mahatma Gandhi, his critics, and his overall legacy. I'm thankful to Aryabhat College for giving me this opportunity to be here and address you on Mahatma Gandhi's birthday that we are celebrating today as well. Friends, as I have served abroad and been a part of the Foreign Service for over 3 decades, let me speak from my experience as a diplomat. Today, Mahatma Gandhi is one of the, I'd say, enduring icons of India's soft power. When we speak about our civilizational heritage and cultural values, somewhere Mahatma Gandhi is one of the first names which comes up when you live abroad. So Mahatma Gandhi, in a sense, is an icon of what India represents. And this I have seen personally in living in different parts of the country, of the world. There hardly any place in the world where you do not see a life-size statue of Mahatma Gandhi or a prominent avenue named after him. There are several university departments where we are running centers of Gandhi studies. There are chairs on Mahatma Gandhi, and he is celebrated. His teachings are commemorated everywhere in the world. So today, as we are marking his birth anniversary, we should also remember that today is International Day of Non-Violence. This was declared in 2007, and my thoughts on Mahatma Gandhi would be from the perspective of the peace, how Mahatma Gandhi could be considered an enduring icon and practitioner of world peace. In peace and conflict studies, which is a part of the international relations or political science studies, peace is commonly understood as the absence of war, violence, conflicts, disagreements, agitation, disturbances, and other forms of hostilities. This is a very negative and narrow concept of peace. In positive terms, peace means the existence of harmonious relations, inner contentment, calmness, and tranquility. Mahatma Gandhi's notion of peace has to be understood in its entirety. His vision of peace not only signifies the absence of violence, but also the attainment of harmony between individual and social groups. On the 11th September 1906, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, a young barrister from India, gave a call for peaceful resistance against discrimination and injustice at a public meeting in Johannesburg in South Africa. Over the years, Satyagraha, the firmness of force of truth or adherence to the truth, became a powerful tool of India's independence struggle. This was a unique contribution of Mahatma Gandhi to India's independence movement. Satyagraha, as a positive peace-building strategy, is a process of civil disobedience or non-violence resistance. It is Satyagraha in this sense which helped India attain freedom from the British rule and which had profound impact on other political leaders such as Martin Luther King and Nelson Mandela. Gandhi used Satyagraha to obtain political goals. He used it as a method whereby grievances could successfully challenge established political order and confront unjust laws and policies. Peace was a method for Mahatma Gandhi, one involving reaching agreements for negotiations, mediation, reconciliation, and rejecting force as a means of achieving objectives. In separating the people from the problem, Gandhi told his followers to distinguish the unjust laws from those who enforce them. Gandhi harbored no hatred or personal ill towards any British individual. In my view, peace and non-violence are at the core of Gandhi's humane worldview. He rejected violence in any form against ourselves, against others, and against nature. In his own words, non-violence is the greatest force at the disposal of the mankind. It is not to be confused with weakness. He said it is mightier than the mightiest weapon of destruction devised by the ingenuity of man. His novel mode of non-violent action brought down a mighty empire and won civil, political, and economic rights for those who were subjugated and oppressed. For Gandhi, ahimsa was the belief in the sacredness of life and the refusal to do harm to living things. Throughout his life, Gandhi insisted that the means to get any goal must be carefully selected, or the attainment of a goal might be short-lived. For instance, he always stressed on obtaining India's independence using non-violent means and rejected those who advocated violent methods. His concept and connect with the nature has become very relevant today in the context of the climate justice and climate action that we are talking about. At the G20 recently held the summit, there was a declaration on life to in order that we have more sustainable daily lifestyle, and it's derived from the Gandhian philosophy. He lived, he respected nature, and his living is concrete example of sustainable consumption. So therefore, in a sense, Gandhi becomes relevant in terms of preservation and attainment of the climate justice. It is an irony of the times that Mahatma Gandhi was not bestowed upon by the Nobel Peace Prize. The United Nations finally acknowledged the relevance of Mahatma's contribution in 2007 by declaring 2nd October, his birthday, as an International Day of Non-Violence. This indeed is a recognition of the enduring relevance of Gandhian values and reflects the respect that Mahatma Gandhi commands universally. We should celebrate the Gandhian way by disseminating the message of peace and non-violence, including through education and public awareness. In a world surrounded by violent conflicts, Gandhi's teachings and methods of peace building assume greater significance by providing peaceful alternatives to violence and conflict. These peaceful alternatives are dialogue, negotiation, reconciliation, and similar tools of conflict resolution and peace building. We should work collectively for the promotion of the values of truth, non-violence, peace, universal brotherhood, religious harmony, cultural understanding, social justice, and moral empowerment, the values which were so dear to Mahatma Gandhi. Friends, thank you very much for giving this opportunity, and let's remember Mahatma Gandhi on his birthday.
Thank you, sir. We have our keynote speaker who have joined us, and he had been part of us since the beginning of the inaugural. I would welcome you, sir, and I would request you to please address the House. Professor Douglas Allen for the keynote address. Professor Allen. 1 minute.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Sir, we wanted to test once if you could speak something so that it echoes
Yes.
or not.
Yes, can you hear me now? Can you hear me? I did unmute. Can you hear me?
We wanted to test once if you could speak something so that it echoes or not.
I'm speaking. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Okay, should I begin?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
yes. May I begin now?
Yes, sir. I am listening to you, sir.
Okay. Uh, Namaskar.
Namaskar, sir.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, to those in India, and, good morning to those in the United States, and many other countries. I would like to thank, Professor Satish Shah, and others from, Aryabhat, College for, the great honor of being invited to deliver this keynote and for organizing this remarkable international seminar on Gandhi and his critics. I feel humbled and grateful for this honor, even more so because 2nd October is Gandhi Jayanti, one of India's major holiday celebrations. 2nd October is also the United Nations International Day of Nonviolence. MK Gandhi is the modern world's most significant proponent of ahimsa, and this is desperately needed in our contemporary world. 2nd October for me has been a special day of celebration, remembrance, deep reflection, and rethinking, reimagining, and rededicating ourselves to working for a much better India and world that are greatly informed by Gandhi's life, vision, ideals, and transformative actions. In this regard, unlike many of Gandhi's worshippers, devotees, and admirers, of which I am an admirer, I do not think that Gandhi has given us the absolute, perfect, ethical, and spiritual blueprint so that we can easily respond to all of his critics by rejecting their critiques as misinformed, unfair, or otherwise inadequate. To the contrary, Gandhi was an extraordinary human being, one of the most remarkable ever. But as he repeatedly confesses, he was also an imperfect, limited, sometimes very inadequate human being. In other words, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi is human. That makes the wide range of diverse plenaries and parallel sessions much more open to agreements, disagreements, debates, differing interpretations, and differing applications. In short, that makes our seminar acknowledging Gandhi's remarkable strengths, along with his weaknesses, much more interesting, lively, engaging, creative, and significant for India and for the world. This is an extremely important seminar on Gandhi and his critics, not only theoretically, but also practically, for understanding what has shaped India's past and what is now happening in India and in the world. This seminar can demonstrate how our creative interpretations and applications are of utmost urgency and significance in relating to our contemporary crises and dedicating our lives to creating a brighter future in which we and other human beings not only survive, but we can also flourish. I shall not attempt to provide simple Gandhian, non-Gandhian, and anti-Gandhian answers to many of the topics and issues that will be considered during the seminar. I do not think that there are usually such simple answers. The methodology, values, conceptual framework, and spirit that inform my keynote are the opposite of the typical, often stereotypical, oversimplified, positive and negative responses to Gandhi and his critics. Instead, I shall attempt to provide an approach, interpretations, and applications that challenge you, engage you in dialogue, generate critical reflection, and serve as a catalyst for lively interactions and debates that will enrich the seminar and for future creative research and practices. There are many worthwhile formulations, interpretations, and sharp disagreements that offer absolute dichotomous approaches to the theme of Gandhi and his critics during Gandhi's lifetime and in the scholarship and practices from 1948 to the present. According to sharply dichotomized Gandhi admirers versus Gandhi critics, Gandhi is either against caste or he is a supporter of caste. He is either against racism or he is a racist. He is either against hierarchical, exploitative capitalism, or he refuses class struggle and is complicit with the capitalist ruling class. He is either a tolerant and inclusivistic Hindu who embraces the truth of all religions, or he is a Hindu who Hinduizes, Vedantizes, and falsifies the truth and reality of dominant Muslim, Christian, and other religious approaches that reject his Hinduism. In my challenging approach and framework, such dominant, dichotomizing approaches regarding Gandhi and his critics, while often insightful, usually lead to dead ends, rigid closures that are central to our contemporary existential and global crises. They restrict and block our human potential for transformative theoretical formulations and cooperative, engaged, transformative practices that are desperately needed in India and in the world. At the end of this keynote, I'll suggest ways that we can relate to past and present research on Gandhi and his critics, but in which we can move forward in new creative ways that offer great potential for the seminar and for the future. In addressing Gandhi, as well as his critics, there are significant difficulties and great challenges for us in identifying, analyzing, and interpreting who is Gandhi and what are Gandhian perspectives, as well as selecting who are the most significant critics and what are the anti-Gandhian perspectives of the critics. Here are several challenges regarding Gandhi, and one can think of many similar challenges relating to critics. In relating to Gandhi and his critics from a Gandhian point of view, we are often presented with difficulties in understanding Gandhi's life, his writings, what he did and did not do, and his legacy for us today. Such difficulties often arise from the fact that the relevant literature is so extensive and varied. The collected works of Mahatma Gandhi consist of 100 volumes, and this does not include other writings by Gandhi, including various publications, correspondence, recorded speeches, and other relevant expressions. This has meant that interpreters, both admirers and critics, are necessarily selective in what they include and what they exclude from Gandhi. We privilege certain writings as the essential Gandhi, exclude his other expressions, and then we present this as the real Gandhi to be supported or to be critiqued and rejected. Difficulties and challenges arise from the fact that there is an incredibly vast literature by Gandhi's sympathetic interpreters, devotees, and other admirers, as well as a vast literature by critics. Even dedicated Gandhians often attribute to Gandhi positions, principles, and actions that are extremely diverse and sometimes even contradictory. It has been said in a somewhat humorous manner that it sometimes seems that everyone who experiences Gandhi, even from a long distance at a train station, makes this into a kind of revelatory darshan. Gandhi is often reputed to have expressed wondrous, meaningful, even miraculous words, gestures, and actions, sometimes extolled, even deified, as the larger-than-life Mahatma by Indians who claim to have heard this secondhand or from some unknown source. M.K. Gandhi is often admired, venerated, and symbolized as an icon, the exemplary leader of a Gandhi cult, worshipped at times in what I've described as forms of a Gandhian fundamentalism. Not only is this not helpful for developing the potential for understanding the theme of Gandhi and his critics, but it is also antithetical to how Gandhi understands his life and his legacy. Gandhiji himself is sometimes surprised, bewildered, and alarmed by what is attributed to him by followers as well as by critics. Historians and other scholars have often demonstrated that there is little or no empirical, historical, or contextual evidence that Gandhi ever said or did some of these things attributed to him. Nevertheless, such imaginatively and contextually constructed formulations of Gandhi and what is Gandhian are extremely significant historically, culturally, morally, spiritually, mythically, and symbolically during Gandhi's lifetime and for us today in constructing the narratives of Gandhi by his admirers and by his critics. There are many other difficulties and challenges in identifying, analyzing, interpreting, and relating Gandhi and his critics during his lifetime and today. Which Gandhi? Do we need to consider multiple Gandhis that are supported or are rejected? Which Gandhian? Do we need to consider multiple Gandhians with multiple Gandhian perspectives? Such challenges are relevant to many of Gandhi's critics, whether more sympathetic or more hostile. Which Muhammad Ali Jinnah? Which Sri Aurobindo? Which Dr. B.R. Ambedkar? Which Savarkar? Which Subhash Chandra Bose? Which Pandit Nehru? This even applies to Gandhi's family. Which Harilal Gandhi? Which Kasturba Gandhi? Such difficulties and challenges are greatly enhanced by the fact that we usually regard Gandhi and his critics in rather static ways. In contrast, Gandhi repeatedly regards his life as his dynamic, action-oriented, open-ended, ongoing experiments with truth, both as successful and also as failed experiments from which he and we can learn. In dialectically reformulating our theoretical understandings and practical applications. Through such failed experiments, Gandhi often modifies and sometimes even rejects his earlier positions, even to the extent of describing some of his earlier views and actions as, quote, Himalayan blunders, unquote. This tendency to isolate and abstract experiences and expressions from Gandhi's life, his relations and conflicts with critics, and our formulations today in static ways limits our understandings and our new creative interpretations and applications. For example, are we addressing Gandhi and Gandhians regarding satyagraha in the early 1920s, when Gandhi halts the national non-cooperation movement for Indian independence after the rather isolated violent incident at Charichara in February 1922? Or Gandhi's significantly different views after the Quit India movement of the 1940s, when he does not call off movements after incidents of far greater violence? Are we addressing Gandhi's approach to caste early in his life, or when he later occasionally embraces some idealized views of caste, or when he expresses his most radical anti-caste views late in his life? Such open-ended questions can also be directed at the lives and views of many of Gandhi's critics. The limits of such static approaches can be seen in the debates involving many Gandhi admirers and Gandhi critics, especially in how we have tended to present some of Gandhi's most controversial, historical, contextually presented, and in my view, hopelessly unacceptable positions. Here I'll simply note several of many relevant examples. In fairness, I want to acknowledge that these are several of Gandhi's weakest and shockingly most unethical and most unacceptable expressions. In the late 1930s, Gandhi advises German Jews to observe nonviolent satyagraha in responding to Hitler, Nazi genocide, and the Holocaust as the, quote, final solution to exterminate all Jews. On February 24th, 1939, the Jewish philosopher Martin Buber who was a great admirer of Gandhi, responds sadly and convincingly, in my view, that Gandhi's advice is completely out of touch with reality and contextually inadequate. A limit of a sole static focus on this quote unquote debate of strong disagreements is that it limits understanding of how the critic Buber greatly admires and shares much philosophically, ethically, and spiritually with Gandhi, rather than focusing only on their differences on several specific topics. In my view, an extreme limitation of this isolated, static approach is that it fails to bring strong, open-ended Buberian and Gandhian perspectives into new creative dynamic relations that can challenge us to formulate new creative interpretations and applications today. A second example is in the well-known quote-unquote debate between Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore after the Bihar earthquake of 1934, in which Gandhi claims that the earthquake is a punishment for the sin of untouchability. The critic Tagore, with his naturalistic approach to the earthquake, responds furiously with several powerful attacks. Once again, a limit of an isolated and static, quote, debate, unquote, in which both Tagore and Gandhi offer many complex and multidimensional points and counterpoints, is that it ignores how much the critic Tagore admires Gandhi, how much Gandhi admires Tagore, and how much they are interconnected and united on the most fundamental levels of human experience, truth and reality. In my view, an extreme limitation of this isolated static approach is that it fails to bring strong, open-ended, Tagore-informed and Gandhi-informed perspectives into new creative dynamic relations that can challenge us to formulate new interpretations and applications today. A third example can be seen in many, quote, debates, unquote, in which diverse anti-Gandhi feminist critics attack Gandhi as an extreme, oppressive patriarch with misogynistic views and actions. Once again, in fairness, I regard several of these as among Gandhi's weakest and most objectionable positions. For example, upholding certain traditional views of karmic purity, Gandhi even states that if a woman is raped, this shows that she is impure, thus blaming the victim. If the rape cannot be prevented, the woman is dishonored, and it may even be better if she takes her own life rather than to live with such impure, dishonest. One wonders how the incredibly moral Mahatma Gandhi can take such blatantly immoral positions, especially since his philosophy of satya, ahimsa, morality, sarvodaya, and other key principles would seem to emphasize an opposite Gandhian position. What I want to emphasize is that a limited, isolated, and static focus on several such immoral examples regarding Gandhi's sexist positions ignores the open-ended developmental understanding that Gandhi rejects many of these earlier views. For example, after the horrifying aftermath of the partition, in which hundreds of thousands of women are raped, Gandhi responds with incredible compassion, selfless service, and understanding that they are victims and that we must serve their needs. Even more significantly, the various static feminist views of Gandhi critics often prevent our understanding Gandhi's changing dynamic positions on many topics, including his radical critiques of patriarchy and how there must be gender equality in all areas of life, whether in family relations or in participating in satyagraha struggles. In that regard, I regard Gandhi as a revolutionary feminist, even if we use different language for that. In so many ways, a reformulated and reapplied Gandhi-informed position on gender relations is more progressive than what we usually find in contemporary India, in the United States, and in the world. And this frees the potential for new creative debates, interactions, and understandings in our seminar on Gandhi and his critics. In my view, an extreme limitation of this isolated static approach is that it fails to bring strong, open-ended, feminist-informed and Gandhi-informed perspectives into new creative, dynamic relations that can challenge us to reformulate new creative interpretations and applications on gender relations and other topics today. Without sharing here my open-ended, complex approaches, interpretations, and analyses, I could focus most of this keynote on the well-known quote-unquote debates and controversies between major critic Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and Gandhi, and between major critic Bhagat Singh and Gandhi. I have had numerous encounters in India and elsewhere in which attacking Indians respond, quote, "We are Dalit followers of Dr. Ambedkar and we hate Gandhi," unquote, and quote, "We are followers of Bhagat Singh and we hate Gandhi," unquote. Many of these isolated static formulations of the debates with differing and strongly oppositional perspectives of Ambedkar, Bhagat Singh, and Gandhi are insightful and worthy of consideration. However, in the open-ended creative orientation I've been proposing, I think that such static, rigid debates and perspectives often lead to dead ends that block our potential for new creative research and applications. I propose that Ambedkar's perspectives on caste, modernism, and many other topics have great strengths, sometimes lacking in Gandhian perspectives. But they also have limitations and weaknesses where Gandhi has greater strengths. I propose that Bhagat Singh's informed perspectives on capitalism, the need for revolutionary class struggle, and many other topics have great strengths, sometimes lacking in Gandhian perspectives on these topics, but they also have limitations and weaknesses where Gandhi has greater strengths. Once again, in my view, an extreme limitation of this typical isolated static approach is that it fails to bring strong, open-ended and Ambedkar-informed, Bhagat Singh-informed, and Gandhi-informed perspectives into new creative dynamic relations that can challenge us to formulate new creative interpretations and applications on class exploitation, caste oppression, multidimensional, structural, systemic violence and nonviolence, and other essential contemporary issues. Let me share briefly a diverse and hopeful experience I've repeatedly had in India with followers of Ambedkar and other Dalits. On many occasions, I've been invited to deliver Gandhi-informed lectures, sometimes interrupted during my presentation, and more often just after I finish. Several in the audience stand up and aggressively and loudly proclaim, quote, "We are followers of Dr. Ambedkar, and we are against Gandhi," unquote. They then make the same anti-Gandhi speech. Quote, "Gandhi is a supporter of the oppressive Hindu caste system. Gandhi is an enemy of Dalits, so-called untouchables, outcasts, and low-caste scheduled Indians. We reject anything Gandhian as an enemy of Dalit liberation," unquote. Several of these speakers are demagogues, but most are sincere young Dalits who are disturbed by my Gandhi-informed views, and they want to correct me. Occasionally, these sincere young Dalits ask to meet with me or simply come to my room in the evening for several hours of intense discussion. I listen patiently, empathetically, and respectively, since I am committed to the service of others, especially the most oppressed and the least free. I finally respond that I agree with much of what Ambedkar and these Dalits say. I also agree that some of what Gandhi presents on caste and many later Gandhian perspectives on caste needs to be rejected. Then, after sometimes gently sharing that I don't think that these speech-making young Dalits have ever read Gandhi, I share some of my selectively reformulated revolutionary views of Gandhi on caste. The responses are usually amazing. Quote, "We have never heard of such a Gandhi. We can agree with everything you have just presented. We like such a Gandhi. Unfortunately, the Gandhians we experience are rigid, dogmatic, reject Ambedkar and other Dalit views as unnecessary and false, since they claim that their Mahatma Gandhi has all the answers and all the solutions," unquote. I then experience an emerging mutual sense of warmth, friendship, comradeship, and solidarity. I have shared this example in some detail, and I could share numerous similar examples, because this gives me hope and provides some of the potential for how we can develop new creative interactions and perspectives in the seminar and in the future. In our seminar on Gandhi and his critics, it will be helpful to analyze and understand what we mean by, quote, critics, unquote, how we identify and formulate the positions of critics, how they relate to Gandhi and Gandhians, and what are the wide range of diverse critics and their critiques today. Obviously, there are anti-Gandhi critics who are extremely hostile to anything Gandhian. Developing positions of such antagonistic and anti-Gandhi critics involves their perspectives on resisting, controlling, and eliminating or destroying everything Gandhian. One thinks of the many expressions of extreme conservative, militant, violent, Hindutva, anti-Gandhian Hinduism that dominate much of life in India today. There are many other kinds of powerful critiques of Gandhi and Gandhian perspectives in India and throughout the contemporary world. Many of these represent the experiences, values, cultures, perspectives, and worldviews of what Gandhi interprets as the expressions of, quote, modern civilization, unquote. The super wealthy capitalist power elite who control their huge corporations with their top-down concentration of power and the structures of economic globalization. Those who control and profit from class exploitation, hierarchical inequality, endless greed, and materialistic consumption. Those who promote and profit from militarism, nuclear and other weapons of mass destruction, endless wars and conflicts, and those who reject or simply ignore any commitment to Gandhian-formed morality, culture, technology, or spirituality. These modern anti-Gandhian critics at most find Gandhi an insignificant troublemaker. And within their modern anti-Gandhian perspectives, they can usually simply ignore anything Gandhian as useless and irrelevant. In recent years, we may note how influential Hindu leaders and organizations in India, earlier extreme critics, now misleadingly appear to embrace and extol Mahatma Gandhi. Here one finds Hindutva-promoted critics, including those in the ruling BJP, the RSS, and other parts of the dominant political, social, cultural, religious, nationalistic, and ideological narratives in India today. In earlier decades, these leaders and organizations were hostile critics of M.K. Gandhi. They expressed their anti-Gandhi antagonistic critiques. Gandhi makes us weak, favors Muslims and other minorities over Hindus, is responsible for partition and for Kashmir, is a traitor to Hindu India and an enemy of Hindus, and more. According to many of these critics, the Hindu nationalist Nathuram Godse, who assassinated Gandhi, was right. In recent years, there often appears to be a complete reversal by these leaders and groups who now embrace Mahatma Gandhi as an outstanding Indian patriot, a great Hindu, an honored martyr, someone who really expresses the Hindutva point of view and recognizes the superiority of Hindu culture, the superiority of Hindu civilization, and more. I submit that these professed supporters of Gandhi remain anti-Gandhi critics who use and misuse Gandhi's powerful name, image, and mass appeal to further their anti-Gandhian values, priorities, policies, and objectives. In recent years, there have also been significant, authentic, revealing changes in the positions of many other critics, and even in their attitudes and approaches to Gandhi and various Gandhian perspectives. Excellent examples are evident in recent research of some top modern scientists, engineers, and other environmental experts. Previously, these modern environmental scientists and modern technology experts were confident, often arrogant, in assuming that their scientific, technological, quantifiable models and techniques offer the only path and the certain solution to our ecological problems. Now, as the critics increasingly acknowledge weaknesses and failures, how we have reached or passed beyond the alarming tipping point, and how all human and non-human life on the planet is threatened with devastation and extinction, many previous critics increasingly realize the need for a radical paradigm shift in which Gandhi and Gandhian values and perspectives have much to contribute. As I previously indicated, there is a very wide range of diverse critics of Gandhi who often express a wide range of diverse critiques of Gandhian perspectives. They often present us with anti-Gandhian critiques, expressing significant differences with Gandhi, but they also sometimes share many of Gandhi's concerns, values, and goals. As noted, we often focus on maximizing differences between Gandhi and his critics, not realizing that they may share more than what divides them. And this blocks us from developing new creative, interconnected, unifying understandings and applications of the greatest urgency and significance today. I intend to conclude the keynote address with what may strike most of you as a very bold and unexpected proposal that I can relate to how I understand and develop two moves in M.K. Gandhi's seemingly bizarre reading and interpretation of his favorite text, the Bhagavad Gita, as a gospel of nonviolence. When we consider Gandhi's writings and other expressions today, every reading is to some extent a rereading. Every interpretation is to some extent a reinterpretation. Every appropriation is to some extent a reappropriation and reapplication. In a dynamic, complex, open-ended process of research and practices, we are attempting to relate Gandhi's horizon of meaning with his experiences, expressions, historical, economic, political, social, cultural, religious, and spiritual contextual variables with our own horizons of meaning, informed by Gandhi's perspectives, but also informed by what is new and different in the contemporary world. In this regard, Gandhi's writings are open-ended and malleable, but they are not infinitely malleable. Approaches and claims by various critics, and even by various Gandhians, sometimes express misreadings, misinterpretations, and misappropriation. This same dynamic, open-ended process applies to how we reread, reinterpret, and reappropriate what we selectively consider in the writings and other expressions of Pandit Nehru, Dr. Ambedkar, Bhagat Singh, Savarkar, and other diverse critics, and how we relate such understandings with what is different and new in our contemporary world. The same dynamic, open-ended process applies to how we reread, reinterpret, and reappropriate the wide range of diverse relations between Gandhi and his critics during his lifetime, and how we can reconceptualize, reimagine, reapply, and understand the potential for their new relations that are most insightful and necessary for our contemporary world. In other words, in referring to the title of this seminar, Gandhi and his critics, a contemporary discourse, quote, contemporary, unquote, includes historical, cultural, and other research on what happened in the past that related Gandhi and his critics. But more than that, we are challenged to consider how our contemporary discourse can relate Gandhi and his critics in ways that are different, creative, and desperately needed today. As is well known, Gandhi presents his favorite text, the Gita, as a gospel of nonviolence. This not only strikes Gandhi's critics, but also diverse Gandhi supporters, millions of whom accept the teachings and practices of Gita as bewildering and based on a blatantly false reading and a personal idiosyncratic interpretation that cannot be justified by the text. As is well known, Gandhi first attempts to justify his reading and interpretation by proposing that the Gita should not be read and understood literally, on which level it is indeed very violent. Instead, it should be read and understood on the deeper levels of metaphor, myth, allegory, and other symbolic meanings. It is also helpful to use this approach when examining the writings and widespread appeal of various critics of Gandhi. For example, I submit that only when we consider the mythic, allegorical, and symbolic levels of rereadings, reinterpretations, and reapplications can we begin to understand more fully the veneration, the iconic, heroic idealization, and the deep ongoing widespread appeal of Bhagat Singh for his millions of devoted followers. What is less known, and what expresses an example of my major innovative emphasis, is a radically different complementary hermeneutical move and bold assertion by Mahatma Gandhi in justifying his interpretation of Gita as a gospel of nonviolence. As we had just noted, Gandhi acknowledges that on the literal level, the Gita is not a nonviolent text. He also grants that those who authored the Gita about 2,000 years ago, the later great Hindu philosophers and other interpreters, those in the Indian independence freedom movement for whom the Gita is their exemplary text, and the hundreds of millions of devotees have not regarded Gita as an essentially nonviolent text. Instead, in his second radical move, Gandhi proposes a qualitative paradigm shift, justifying his nonviolent reading, interpretation, and application. The Gita, with its profound teachings and lessons, allows us to reread, reinterpret, and reconstitute it in new, creative, nonviolent ways. We are involved in a dynamic, open-ended process grounded in the past, but revealing new ways of rereading, reinterpreting, reapplying, and disclosing the Gita's potential for addressing our contemporary crises of so much immoral, social, economic, political, militaristic, psychological, linguistic, educational, technological, and environmental violence. In other words, the Gita is an essential text of nonviolence for Gandhi and for us, because we can reimagine, reread, reinterpret, and reapply it in a profoundly nonviolent way that addresses our contemporary existential situation, just as earlier generations reconstituted it in ways that did not regard it as essentially nonviolent. My main claim here is not that Gandhi's critics must endorse his Gandhi-informed, reformulated, new creative views and practices of ahimsa, although I think his approach today can be valuable in broadening and deepening their understandings of contemporary violence and nonviolence. Instead, my main claim here is that writings and other expressions by Gandhi and by his critics need not to be regarded as expressing ahistorical, non-temporal, non-contextualized, unchanging, essentialized points of view. Instead, such Gandhian and anti-Gandhian expressions are part of a dynamic developmental process in which we are given the challenging contemporary role of becoming co-authors, active subjects, engaged participants in reconstituting new structures, relations, and meanings that respond to our contemporary lives and world. Imperfect Gandhi does not provide all the answers and solutions, just as none of the imperfect Gandhi critics provide all of the answers and solutions. My proposal has been that when we bring selectively reconstituted Gandhi-informed perspectives into integral dynamic relations with some of the selectively reconstituted critic-informed perspectives involving a radical, qualitative, revolutionary paradigm shift, we are challenged to formulate, debate, and engage in dialogue in ways that will enrich the seminar, will give us hope for overcoming our existential and global crises, and will move us towards solutions that are significant and desperately needed in our contemporary world and for the future. I want to thank you for your patient attentiveness during my keynote address. I wish you all the best for what promises to be a very challenging, meaningful, and rewarding international seminary, and all the best for your future lives, India and the world. Thank you.
for the seminar. And on that beautiful note, I would request and invite Dr. Prayat to please deliver the word.
Very distinguished guest, members of our dear students and friends. First of all, very good evening and greetings on this auspicious day of happy thinking to all of you. I stand before you to extend the vote of thanks. First and foremost, to our executive committee for taking our time to make this schedule for creating this session. Our sincere thanks to Dr. Sani for having consented to give this keynote address. And he has said he told and mentor for the engagements. Tomorrow and we are spread over 4 limited sessions, sessions. He has opened up the meeting and the door and the meeting that his keynote address will have resonance in the store and the we are looking forward. Once again, lot of thanks for the development of this very comprehensive and our sincere thanks to our governing body, chairpersons and presence today to a source of encouragement that God and message will be that in mind. And also very grateful to our principal for having extended all the support and for helping us plan out this particular event. My thanks will also go to this team that took this particular show. And with these, I once again thank all of you for being here, for participating in this inaugural function. And I hope in next 2 days, all of you will be there. And we are after the discussions in the questions. So we will get into a decision. And making our own functions, our thinking and our we see that is one of the big and we listen to each word and it will once again and here with us and enriching this particular section. Thanks a lot.
With that, we come to the last part of the function today. I would request you all to please repeat my remarks. The dinner is coming to start there inside of the camera. Thank you. The session start at 10 o'clock. The session will be at 2:20. Sunday is here and comfortable. We will find volunteers to help you to the venue.